Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Hope you guys are doing well. Today is Wednesday, August the 12th. It is, of course, CPI. We do have that at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time in roughly about 25 minutes. So, game plan today, we'll go over some charts, we'll go over some tickers and what we're looking for coming to this morning. We'll wait for that CPI news release at 8:30 and then we'll develop our game plan from there. As you can see, overall markets yesterday, we kind of consolidated for the first 90 minutes, the first 2 hours of market open. Once we did break underneath its previous day lows, we end up pushing towards the downside on both the SPY and the Qs. You can see currently we are bouncing here in the pre-market. Primarily, the SMH is what's leading the markets higher right now. You can see this one's gapping above our previous day highs. A couple of semis pushing up nicely in the pre-market. SMH up 1.7% compared to the Qs at our previous day highs, and then the SPY right here is right in between that previous day's range. So with that being said, let me pull up the economic calendar here. What's up, Kevin? What's up, B Roots, J10, P1, Maria, Andy? Good morning, Cody. Good morning, Knight. What's up, Ryan, Bobby, Lamit, Ron, Cinna? What's up, Just, Juan, Carl, Gerald? First time here. I'm glad you're here, Rod. Yassar. What's up, Eileen, Todd, Monty? Okay. That being said, let me pull up the economic calendar and we will get started. All right, so as you can see, coming into market open, we do have some news in roughly 25 minutes. This is the core CPI month over month, along with the year over year. And then we also have the CPI month over month, also with the year over year as well. So this is going to be in 25 minutes. We'll just go over some charts. This is the main thing that we've been waiting for this week. So far, we can see there's a couple. We've been having some volatile price action beforehand, at least in the pre-market. We'll see how the market shapes up and how it reacts to this news release. Tomorrow, we do, of course, have core PPI month over month, along with the unemployment claims. And then on Friday, we have the core retail sales, along with the prelim consumer sentiment. All right, with that being said, let's hop onto some charts coming into market open here. As I mentioned, we do have core CPI, so this could definitely shape up the overall markets and kind of invalidate some of the theses that we're going to be looking for today. But we're just going to go over what we're looking for on the higher time frame, starting off here with the SPY. As you can see, higher time frame wise, we're just kind of building up a higher low here, forming this daily kind of flight pattern on the SPY. What we'd like to see here now is the previous day highs and previous day lows. You can see we are a little bit further away from the EMAs after having a really solid push last week or the week prior. If we're looking at this on the hourly time frame, the key technical levels that we do have marked out for some upside. In this case, now it is our 775, and then we also have our 772 marked out. So for the SPY, you can see yesterday we kind of rejected off that 775, came down into that previous day lows. Once it broke back underneath, we came all the way back down into a key level of support, which happens to be that 770. If we're looking at this here on the hourly time frame, we are just kind of building up this higher time frame wedge pattern. So for SPY, if you want to see some upside above that 772, best case scenario above our previous day highs, 775 for continuation towards the upside. And of course, if you're looking for some downside, underneath that 772, we can see push down in towards that previous day lows. But if we're underneath that previous day lows, we can definitely see some more downside here in the markets. Currently right in between the middle of the range, so we want to be a little bit more cautious here on the SPY. If we're looking at the ES, exact same thesis. The key levels that we have marked out is, of course, that previous day lows, which is that 7,740. We have that previous day highs. Sound is cutting out in and out for sound is cutting in and out for anyone else having restarted the stream. Do you guys have any sound issues? Can you guys type one in the chat if you guys have any, or sorry, can you guys Type yes in the chat if you're having sound issues, or no in the chat if everything's good. I'm good. No, no, no. All good. No, I can hear you loud and clear. Okay. Yeah, if you have any sound issues, most likely it's probably on your end. Try and refresh the stream and everything should be good. Okay, coming into the ES chart, as you can see, the key technical levels that we have marked out, previous day highs along with that previous day lows. Currently, we're right at that 77.71. Key levels here on the hourly time frame. If you do want to see some upside above that, now it's going to be that previous day highs for any sort of continuation towards the upside. If we do break underneath that previous day lows, then that's where we can see a little bit more downside in the markets. Coming into today, what we're going to focus on a little bit more is going to be the Qs along with the SMH, just because the SMH is a little bit stronger here in the pre-market. So if we're taking a look at the QQQ here, this is the area that we rejected from. You can see yesterday we kind of broke underneath that 723. We end up pushing towards the downside. Currently in the market open, we are gapping up here. So for the Qs, if you want to see some upside above our previous day highs, hold for continuation towards that 726 is in play. If we reject right off the bat within the first 5 to 10 minutes, then we're going to see a push all the way back down in towards that previous day close. So this is what we have for the SPY coming into market open. If we take a look at the NQ here, the key technical levels that we have marked out, we can actually just refine some of the levels that we have marked out here on the NQ, the previous day highs area, and then we could also now mark out the area that we broke out from, which is going to be this 29,680. So the key technical levels today is going to be that previous day highs. If we can break above our previous day highs, we have room up in towards our 29,960. If we reject the previous day highs, then we're going to see a push all the way back down in towards that previous day close, which happens to be that 29,680. So coming into market open, we're just going to keep an eye out on the QQQ previous day highs. That's going to be key for us today. If we take a look at the SMH, along with the DRAM, a couple names, specifically semiconductors and some memory, have been moving a little bit nicer in the pre-market. So as you can see, the SMH, we've been consolidating as of recent. Key levels that we have marked out is still going to be that 590. We're still building up higher lows here on the daily chart as well. What we like to see here is the break above that 590 for any sort of continuation towards the upside. If you go back onto the hourly time frame, the key levels that we have marked out is that 576. This is our previous day highs. We tried getting above this area last week. You can see this week we've been a little bit weaker, but now we're reclaiming back above at 576. Key levels today is just going to be that previous day highs. As long as you can maintain above that 576, we're going to be looking for continuation up and towards this 588, which is our Monday's highs. Another possible scenario above our pre-market highs for continuation here as well. So we're going to keep an eye out on the semiconductors above our previous day highs. The MU is bouncing. A couple other semis are bouncing nicely here in the pre-market. And then, of course, if we take a look at DRAM, this one is up roughly about 5% in the pre-market. DRAM has been consolidating here as well, right off the lows. You can see we're right around the EMAs. We're building up higher lows here on the daily time frame, forming this kind of inverse head and shoulders that we do have. Now what we like to see is the break back above our 56. So just because we're gapping up here in the pre-market doesn't necessarily mean that the semiconductors are all of a sudden just going to end up having a major reversal, right? We are very bullish in the pre-market, which is a very good sign. Now what we like to see is a push up in towards that 55 on the higher time frames. Other levels that we can have marked out is just this level right here, which happens to be that 53. So we're well above that previous day highs. Now coming into market open, we just want to maintain higher lows for this continued push up and towards that pre-market highs and potentially 56 here on the higher time frame. So with that being said, let's go on to some of the names that we have coming into market open. We'll go into some of the tech names. So if you guys do have any charts or any tickers, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch list, that of course is in the description below here as well. For the IWM, quickly go over this one. This one looks very bullish. Higher time frame forming this cup and handle. The IWM, we can be looking for a continuation above our 301. A 303 for continuation towards the upside. Above this high, we can be looking for a continuation towards the upside. Okay, with that being said, let's go over some tech names. Mohammed, I already went over the S&P, right? I went over the SPY and the ES. It's basically they're both the S&P 500. If you want the exact levels, maybe on the SPX, you can just kind of match that with the S&P 500. All right, let's start off here on Tesla. Let me grab some water here as well. So we'll go over some charts for the next 15 minutes, and then we'll wait for core CPI, which is going to be dropping at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Okay, let's first go over some names that we have coming into market open, starting off here with Tesla. As for the EMAs, it's just the 9 and 21. If you're looking at this one on the hourly time frame, you can see yesterday, or we're slowly building higher lows, and we're trying to push back up and towards this 340 here on the higher time frames. The lower time frames, key technical levels that we have marked out is that previous day highs yesterday, along with that 334 key levels. As you can see, we're building up higher lows, broke above, and then we ended up getting back underneath. So key levels today is still going to be that 331. If we can break above, hold, push back up and towards that previous day highs, and kind of this 340 here on the higher time frame is in play on Tesla. As for AMD, this one came all the way back down in towards that earnings low. So this is the key level that we have marked out on the higher time frames. As you can see, it's at 462. Yesterday, we did break underneath that previous day lows. It did come all the way back down into that earnings low. You can see buyers end up stepping in here, and now you can see there's a reversal in the markets. The key levels that we have marked out on AMD is just going to be that previous day highs, which currently we're getting back above. So for AMD on the hourly time frame, let's just refine some of the levels that I have marked out. Let's just mark this out, and then we can also mark out that previous day highs here. So for AMD on the higher time frames wise, right, we're seeing some buyers here off that previous day lows. That earnings low. Now we're above that previous day highs. What would I like to see here on AMD now is just maintain above that previous day highs for continuation. Above our pre-market highs, we can see that push back towards the upside here as well. So this is what I have for AMD coming to market open. If we get underneath that previous day highs, then we can be looking for a push down in towards that previous day lows, which is that 465 here on the higher time frames. As for Nvidia, this one bouncing in the pre-market here as well. Higher time frame is still intact on Nvidia. You can see yesterday we ended up pushing towards the upside. We were originally bullish in the pre-market. We did reject right off that 222. You can see this one rejected and came all the way back down in towards that 217. If we're looking at this one on the higher time frames, now what we like to see is the break outside of this 222. So continuation higher, consolidation, came up, rejected. If you want to see continuation higher above that 222 is needed for continuation here on Nvidia. If you want to see upside above that previous day highs, we could also be looking for that potential previous day low bounce play. But the main thing is here now just going to be that previous day low bounce or longs above that previous day highs. As for Apple, this one's slowly pushing back towards the downside. Keep an eye on Apple for a bounce play here off that 302 for a pushback towards the highs. This is our higher time frame level of support here. If we do want to see some more downside, we need to see it underneath that 300. If we can see that break underneath that 300, then we can definitely see a bigger retracement here in the markets. As for Google and some of these other names, you can see right now a couple tech names are a little bit weaker compared to the semis, which are showing a little bit more strength in the pre-market. Google ended up breaking underneath that 356 yesterday and holding underneath. You see this one end up having a nice kind of previous day low retest for continuation towards the downside. Now, based off this higher time frame chart on Google, this one is definitely a lot weaker. Right, rejected off that 380 with some news a couple weeks ago. Now we're pulling back down. The next key level that I have is really this general area. This is the area that we bounce from. Once we're able to reclaim back above that 340, you can see we end up having that nice continuation higher. Now it's going to come back down into that 340. Let's see if any buyers step in here once again for a potential move back towards the upside. As for Microsoft, this one is the name that is still very strong on the higher time frames. Keep an eye out on Microsoft. The levels that I have marked out is that 504 along with that 498. So far it is holding here on the hourly time frame. Let's keep an eye on that bounce play above that 500 or now above our previous day highs for continuation back towards the upside. The key technical levels that we have marked out is going to be that 499 along with that previous day highs, 505. Above that 505, we can see continuation. Hourly time frame bullish, daily time frame still bullish as well. Higher lows, as you can see, are built in this case on Microsoft. Let's keep an eye on that 500 hold for continuation back towards the upside. As for Meta, this one had a couple nice reclaims yesterday. Ended up pushing up into that previous day highs. You can see a little bit of rejection right off that 610. But Meta, a couple nice trading opportunities the past few sessions above this earnings high. We just like to see it maintain above that 600 for, of course, continuation back up in towards that previous day highs and above. As for Amazon, this one, we like to see it above our 280 here on the higher time frames. Their key levels that we have marked out is just going to be that previous all-time highs. You can see we're kind of building up this daily wedge pattern here on the higher time frames above that 280 for continuation towards the upside. The key technical levels that we have marked out is going to be that 277.50. If we can break above that 277.50 along with that previous day highs, then we can see continuation towards the upside here on Amazon. Netflix, nice break, followed up by a rejection, so not too much to talk about on this one. And then for SpaceX, the major key levels that I have marked out is that that IPO low, which is that 150 key psych level. Currently, we are just maintaining above our earnings high. So right now for SpaceX, we're above that earnings high. You can see buyers are stepping in right off this level. Yesterday came up in towards that previous day highs, and now we're bouncing. Right now, we're currently right in between the middle of the range. So for SpaceX, if you want to see continuation above, right, we like to see it above that previous day highs. So we could also see a potential bounce right off that previous day lows for a pushback towards the upside. Okay, with that being said, we do have roughly 5 minutes until core CPI. That is going to be released at 8:30. I'll go over some other tickers for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll just wait for the CPI news release that we do have. So if you guys do have any charts or any tickers you guys would like me to go over, you guys can now drop them in the chat. If you guys are enjoying this so far, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. If you guys haven't joined the free daily watch, that of course is in the description below here as well. Indicators, already mentioned it, it's the 9 and 21. Are you focused only on tech stocks or you're open to trading healthcare? If healthcare is moving along with other sectors, right, I'll be looking for those ones. But as of recent, right, a couple Mag 7s and some tech stocks have been moving right now in the pre-market. Of course, we are seeing some buyers step in on some of the semis. So we're going to be focusing on some of the semiconductors coming into market open here. Yeah, names like CRWV, NBIS, those have had nice moves in the pre-market just because we had earnings as of recent. Let me go over NBIS. This one had some earnings in the pre-market. We talked about this level being key yesterday, which was that 180. Levels are respecting very nicely here on NBIS. So nice buyer stepped in. This is exactly where we bounced from originally, kind of forming this higher time frame inverse head and shoulders. And now we're pushing back up in towards that 230. So for something like an NBIS, right? Nice push. Once we broke above, you can see nice push in the after hours. We had some earnings in the morning here as well. Now we're up into our key technical level, which is 230 here on the higher time frames. So if you can break above that 230, as you can see, we have multiple touches here. MBIS, right above that 230, we actually have a lot more room back towards the upside. So keep an eye on that 230 break coming into market open here on MBIS. As for CRWV, also had some earnings as well, bouncing off the low of the range. Buyers are stepping in, form this daily flag pattern, and now you can see we're gapping up here as well. So name like CRWV, pretty strong here in the pre-market. Of course, we had some earnings last night. We're well above this range that we have marked out. The next levels that we have, 102, and then I actually have room all the way back up in towards 116. Other levels that we could have marked out 106. There's room all the way up in towards 120 here on CRWV. So coming into today, keep an eye out on that first kind of dip for a pushback up and towards that 110 and potentially above, which is going to be that 114 on the higher time frames. Okay, we have about a couple more minutes. Let's just go over a few other names. AVGO, this one's still holding up here on the higher time frames. AVGO, we did reject off that earnings gap fill. If we can get back above that previous day highs, we can see that continuation up and towards that full gap fill. Palantir still strong here as well. Key technical levels that I have marked out is our 171. This is the area that I like to see hold on Palantir. This is our previous day lows along with our Friday's highs for a pushback towards the upside. So let's keep an eye on Palantir hold of this 171. MU is pushing up nicely here in the pre-market. We are kind of breaking out of this downtrend that we have marked out on MU. We are above our previous day highs. Right now we are, I'd say, consolidating more than anything. But for something like MU, I do like this one above that previous day highs. So let's keep an eye on MU hold above that previous day highs. And then if we can get above that pre-market high, we can be looking for continuation up and towards that 900 along with that 920 coming to market open. Right, SNDK above that previous day highs here. Let's keep an eye on SNDK above the high that we created here on, this is that earnings first day from earnings. So for SNDK, similar thesis above that pre-market high or maintain above that previous day highs for continuation. INTC above that previous day highs. WDC above that previous day highs. So main really watch today is going to be MU just because this one's showing some strength here in the pre-market. Other names, SK Hynix, nice pop here in the after hours. Key level that we're just going to mark out 152. Multiple touches around this general area. If we can get above, we can see continuation. Of course, if we reject, we're going to see a push right back towards the lows. And then MRVL, this one right back up and towards that 225. Let's keep an eye on that MRVL break above that 225 for continuation. A lot of the semis right now have been consolidating as of recent. If we can break above, we can see that continuation back towards the upside here. So that's what we're going to be looking for. TSM looks really good as well, breaking above this flat top on the daily time frame. Back above this 420 here, flat top break on the hourly chart as well. You can see higher lows are being built. Now for TSM, maintain above that 424 for continuation higher. Right, TSM looks really strong above that previous day highs for continuation towards the upside. And then the rest of the names, as you can see, are bouncing here currently. So we just had the core CPI news release. Let's take a look at this one. You can see so far coming into core CPI, right, pushing towards the upside. Right now, we just hit a key technical level here on the higher time frames, and we are having a decent amount of volatility here. So SPY in between the middle of the range. Qs end up popping up into that higher time frame key level, and so far we are having an initial reaction. We'll see how this forms here on the 5-minute time frame, but we'll take a look at the numbers here. Okay, so we just had the core CPI number news release. It seems like everything came in line with expectations. Core CPI month over month 0.2, actual 0.2, the year over year 2.5%, and even the month over month along with the year over year, everything in line with expectations here. So net neutral change, and you can see overall markets are just right at the key levels that we opened up at in the pre-market. So we had a little bit of a pop right before pre-market, and then now you can see we're rejecting and we're right back down in towards that previous day high. So uh, at least coming to market open, higher time frame, I'm still have a bullish thesis. Right after this kind of initial rejection, I don't like how it moved higher first and now it's rejecting. We are above our previous day high, so we're still going to maintain a bullish bias here in the markets. But now it's just going to be the reaction that we have off key levels. If we maintain above that previous day highs, we can see that push back up in towards that pre-market highs and above. Of course, if we get underneath that previous day highs, then we have room, back down into that previous day close. If we're taking a look at the SPY here, similar thesis, SPY maintaining a bullish bias here in the markets, bouncing off a key level of support. What I'd like to see is the middle of the range. So I'm a little bit more bullish on the semiconductors along with the Qs than of course the SPY in itself, which is fine, right? We like to see the markets, at least the semis, lead the markets towards the upside. So the thesis today, we're just going to keep it on that QQQ previous day highs coming to market open, and then we're going to maintain a bullish bias here on the semiconductors, which is the SMH. So the SMH has room back up into that previous day highs, that weekly highs. If you can get above that 590 today here on the SMH, we have a lot more room towards the upside on the semiconductors. As for the main watches today, we'll keep an eye out on Tesla, hold above that 334 for a push up into that previous day highs and above. Other names that I do like, AMD above our previous day highs, more so kind of this mean reversion trade back towards the highs. Other levels that we can have marked out here now as well is going to be that Monday's high. So above this level, we can also see that continuation back towards the upside. For NVIDIA, key levels that we have marked out 218. Let's just keep an eye on NVIDIA hold for continuation towards the upside. And then there's a lot of names that look fairly bullish here that are holding up in the markets. SpaceX still holding up here as well. So we'll keep an eye on a couple of these tickers, right? Tesla, AMD, NVIDIA, SpaceX holding up nicely above that earnings high as well for continuation. We can just kind of mark out a couple intraday pivots, pre-market highs on SpaceX as well, but this one does have room up and towards that 139. As for everything else, these ones are holding up. Amazon, we need to see the break above our previous day's highs. So any name that we want to see continuation, we need to see that break above that previous day highs if we want to see that push towards the upside. Other watches that I do like quite a bit coming into market open here. I still like AVGO, this one on the higher time frames, but I would like to see this break above that previous day highs for continuation. Palantir above that 171 for a continuation higher. But the main watches coming into today are going to be the semiconductors and more so in specific some memory names, right? MU, as you can see, pushing up nicely here in the pre-market so far. The previous day highs, other levels that I have marked out here is going to be our 890 So for MU coming into market open, let's keep an eye on an MU hold above that 890 for a push up and towards 920. SNDK fairly bullish here as well. Let's keep an eye on SNDK above 1320 for a push back up and towards that earnings high. So MU, SNDK, main watches today, and then some semiconductors are still strong here, right? Even a WDC above that previous day highs. INTC not as strong, but we'll keep an eye on INTC above our previous day highs here. Our exact level that we have marked out can be this, which is our 98. And then other names, right? A lot of these semiconductors are moving nicely here in the pre-market, right? Even in like an MBIS, you'd have to wait for some sort of pullback, but MBIS above that 228, MRVL, TSM. So a couple names moving nicely here in the pre-market, more so some memory. And then we can also take a look at DRAM as well. So DRAM pushing up nicely above that 53. Let's keep an eye out for continuation. So semiconductors along with memory are leading the markets higher coming into market open. So focus on that coming into market open. As for right, the spine cues, we're just going to be a little bit more patient. We'll see the reaction within the first kind of 10 to 15 minutes of market open. The main watches are going to be semis, as I mentioned, within at least right off the bat for continuation. So that's going to be key coming into market open here. The numbers that were released just came in line with expectations. So that's good to see. If we're looking at the overall markets, bullish bias here on the semiconductors. And then, of course, for the SPY and Qs, we'll wait for that reaction within the first 10 to 15 minutes. So with that being said, I'm going to get ready for market open here now. Just keep an eye on the semiconductors coming to market open, right? Even AMD push back towards the upside, but MU, SNDK, main watches coming into market open. And then the semiconductors, right? AVGO, AMD, all on watch for continuation towards the upside. Secondary watches, keep an eye on Tesla along with SpaceX. These ones are still holding up nicely. And then there's a couple other ones like MRVL looks solid for continuation. TSM looks good for continuation as well. And then the rest of the names, right? Any names that are a little bit weaker, like an Apple, Google, right? Microsoft. At least this week, we want to see the break above our previous day highs at a minimum for any sort of continuation back towards the upside. But yeah, with that being said, that's going to be it for me today. Hopefully you guys did enjoy that. If you did, appreciate if you guys drop a like and sub. And with that being said, I will see you guys all tomorrow. All right, take care, everyone. Peace.